All right, everyone, welcome to the training part of our call today, the Senior Solutions Agency webinar. And in celebration of the 4th of July, today's actually the 5th of July, it's Friday, the day after, I decided we're going to do 4 tips I'm going to bring 4 great tips on how to be a stronger door knocker. And I've got some great contributors. Got Mike Mahalik and Tony Riley that are going to help and add in to what we're doing. So great opportunity. If you happen to be catching this program, if you're watching it on YouTube, if you're not part of our agency or Senior Solutions, if you'd like to get more information, you can call the number on the screen, or if you want, I can give you my direct cell phone number, which is area code 630-890-8609. And if you just like some additional training, some more information about how to be more effective in the field, certainly give me a call and I will certainly help you. The first tip, number 1, is what I want to talk to you about, is really just about being organized. And the one thing that I have found about being an effective agent out in the field is that you just can't go out and wing it. You just can't take a stack of leads, plug them into your GPS, and crisscross all over the county. Okay, you're not being very effective. So you need some tools in order to do that. And there's probably quite a few of them out there. I know when I first got started, I'd use I think it was Google Maps is what I would use, and I'd put in all the addresses and kind of plan a route. The only problem is if I got sidetracked, it kind of threw me off my game a little bit. And we have come across a really good tool called Road Warrior. Road Warrior, I would definitely look into that. You can download the app to your phone. There's some great tutorials on YouTube that you can check out with Road Warrior. But the neat thing about Road Warrior is that you can plug in all of your addresses. Once you plug them all in, you can optimize it. It'll tell you where to start. Or let's say you want to start. A lot of times, what agents will do is they'll start at the house that's furthest away. They'll go to that house first and then work their way back to their starting point. What's also really cool about Road Warrior is that you can keep those addresses in there. So if you're out, let's say you have appointments, you can pull up your Road Warrior map. You can see what other leads are available in your area. And at any point in time, you can optimize that. You can just hit optimize and or re-optimize your route to let you know exactly where to go. So my big advice is don't try to wing it, is be prepared. The other thing too is that when you get to the house, if you're door knocking, I'm not talking about running a preset appointment. I'm talking about door knocking. Is have that lead out, look at it, make sure you know the person's name. I always try to commit it to memory so I know their name, so I don't necessarily have to look at the card. When I pull up to the house, I don't sit in my car for 5 minutes. I want to look like I'm kind of in a hurry. So I pull up to the street. If the driveway's open, this is just me personally, I pull into the driveway. If the driveway is available, I pull straight into the driveway. A lot of times I'll just leave my car door open. I'll get out of my car very briskly and walk to the house. I'll look at the house. I'll smile and I'll wave. I know that sounds kind of corny, but you just never know who might be looking out. And I go up to the house, I door knock it. Now what I do is if there's a doorbell, I'll ring the doorbell, plus I will knock very firmly on the door 3 or 4 times. Now, I knock hard enough to get someone's attention, but I don't knock so hard that it's obnoxious. You know what I mean? Like I'm trying to, beat their door down. What I recommend is that after you knock on the door is to take a few steps back. Now, here's kind of, and people will say, well, how far do you step back? However tall you are, that's how far you should step back. If you're 5 foot tall, step back 5 feet. If you're a 6 footer, step back 6 feet. Give that person some room. So because what will happen is that when the person when they open the door and they look out, if you're back 5 or 6 feet, that person is more likely to come out on to the stoop or the front porch versus if you're crowding their space. If you crowd them, a lot of times what will happen, especially if they have a screen door and you're standing right there like 2 feet away from the door, they'll just crack the door open and look out through the screen. Who is, like, what do you want? You know? Tony and Mike, let me flip it over to you real quick and see if you've got on this first section, if you've got about being organized and coming to the house on a door knock, not a preset. If there's any other little tips that you would like to add in.
I think one thing you've always taught me, Joe, is not to sit in the car. You don't want to look like a stalker.
Right.
I think one of the biggest comparisons we do here, ladies and gentlemen, is you need to think of yourself like the UPS man. Have you ever watched the UPS man come around your neighborhood? They don't even waste a second, Joe. They jump out that vehicle. They got their thing in their hand to be sold or signed. They've got your package, and they're making their way to the door. So that's so important. But really the mindsets, ladies and gentlemen, because let's face it, our clients can feel fear. We kind of call it commission breath. When you have to make the sale, they can smell that on your breath almost when you come to the door there. So really, I kind of go through the R's, Joe. I always say relax. You're there before you get to that house. Go and start relaxing. This is not a cold call. You're not just going around the neighborhood knocking on the doors. You're there for a reason, and that reason is that they requested you be there. Oftentimes, ladies and gentlemen, we like to do away with the word leads and instead insert the word request for coverage. When they fill out that lead card or did that Facebook lead, they made a request for coverage, and you're there for that. They explain it to them. So relax, ladies and gentlemen. But also, ladies and gentlemen, be resilient. Know that this business is not DNA or chemistry. You can only control what you can control, and we really don't know what's going to happen there at the door. So be resilient. If you have a bad time at the door, bounce right back. As our CEO always says, never grieve or celebrate more than 30 seconds. So first and foremost, get your mindset right. Relax, ladies and gentlemen. Be resilient, and know it's all about the relationship. We don't even want to use the word insurance for the first 10 minutes or so of that presentation. You're there to build a relationship in the very beginning, which is door knocking is about. But as Joe said, preparation is so key for success. And the most important part of that preparation is going ahead and having your name badge around your neck. That establishes instant validity because these people don't know us from Adam or Eve. So when you have that name badge that says Senior Solutions Agent, State Certified Representative with your number, that's usually the first thing they see, and you want to show that to them. You want to have the lead card in your hand. You don't want to look like that insurance agent from Groundhog Day, as we all know. What was his name, Joe? Ned Needleson. That had
good old Ned
the giant insurance bag because they know you're coming. They know you're an insurance agent. Lighter is always better on that right there. You want to have your business cards, and in your mind, you want to know what your schedule looks like for the next couple of days, just in case you do need to reschedule again. And obviously, you want to have those handy door knocking notices with you just in case the client is not there. So,
all right, buddy, you're jumping way ahead, man.
Go ahead, my friend. Didn't mean to take your fire, Joe. Go ahead, my friend.
Hey, Tony, let me flip it over to you, man. You tell us just the first step about, give us some tips on just the initial part of the, not getting in the house, but just the initial part of the door knocking and coming up to the door.
Well, I agree with him with everything he said, but one thing I do for certain is I always pull in the driveway. Okay. The reason why is I want to block in that car. I don't want them to leave out the back door and get in their car and say, well, I was just leaving. So, and then before I ever start in the morning, I always put my lead cards in order to where I don't just take one lead card to the door for that person that I'm seeing either. I take I take all the lead cards. I want them to think that this is the most, um, important thing out there, and everybody and their dog wants it. So what I do is I have the lead cards set up in order that because have you ever handed the lead card to the people, and I hand all of them to them. Like if I have a stack of 40 there, I hand them all to them, and they're on top. And if you notice, they will always fan through them and look through them.
Yeah,
Well,
yeah.
I want them to see those roads that are within 3 blocks away and all the people in that area that sent those cards in. And I agree with you as far as the little peephole in the door. Never stand right up on it. Stand back far enough and off to the right or left where they can't really see who you are. Because I don't want them to see that I'm there with. A lot of times they think I'm an officer of the law or something, so they answer the door anyways. But you want to be prepared to where they think this is something important and they open the door. And just like the gentleman was talking about a minute ago, you do want to have that your badge available. And the first thing that I do when they open the door is I tell them I'm your state field underwriter on your state regulated program that's out in the state of Kentucky for seniors 50 to 85. You had shown interest in this and mailed the card in. That's when I hand them their card, but I hand them a whole stack of cards. So they see that everybody, and they'll say, oh yeah, that's my signature, and they'll fan through it immediately. Oh, I know Carla Smith. She lives right around the corner here, and I know. So you want to make it look like everybody is interested in it. Everybody sent a card in, and I know if you're like me, if there's 2 or 3 people in my neighborhood that I know that's sent that card in and they're interested in it, I want what my neighbor has.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what I do. That's my first thing I do is I always set the lead cards in order to where the closest to that house that I'm seeing at that moment, I want them to see their neighbor around the corner is going to get it too, and everyone else within a 3-block period has got that lead sent in.
Yeah, I like what you do there, Tony. I like, and I've done it both ways, but I think there's something about going up and you've got that whole stack of leads.
Right.
You know what I mean? And they're looking at that, and you know what I mean? It just, I think it gives you a little bit more credibility, and they can see all those other people that are actually requesting the coverage. And you actually covered a little bit of tip 2. We're going to go ahead and transition, guys. We're done with the initial. That was tip number 1. That was a big tip. Tip number 2 is we're going to be talking about the actual script that you use at the door. And here's what I have found is when it comes to the door knock script, is less is more.
Right.
So you want to keep it very short and brief, to the point. I know I've worked with a lot of agents, and typically when an agent is struggling getting in the door, it's because they're having a 15-minute conversation with the client at the door.
Mm-hmm.
That part doesn't work. I like could you, now that we're transitioning to tip number 2, could you just kind of repeat a little bit about exactly what it is that you say when you door knock, and maybe some of the little nuances about what, your ID badge or
Right.
how do you give them the lead card, that sort of thing?
Well, the first thing I do when they open the door is I show them my badge. I put it up pretty close to their face, right in front of mine, and I tell them, "Hello, Mrs. Smith. My name's Anthony Riley. I'm your state field underwriter in the state of Kentucky for this new state regulated life insurance program for people on a fixed income. You remember sending this card in, don't you?" And that's when I hand it to them.
Okay.
And they always remember. Yeah, that's my signature. Yeah. Well, ma'am, I as a state field underwriter, I have to physically see that you're not terminally ill and bedridden. So I have a few health questions to ask you. Do you have a few minutes? And that's when I do what I call the salesman shuffle. And
Okay.
I wipe my feet. I don't care if there's a doormat there or what. I always wipe my feet. And I tell you, every time it makes them open the door and invite me in.
I love it. Hey, could you give that script just one more time? Just do it the same way you just
Okay.
said it so everybody
I put,
can hear it.
sure. I put my badge in front of their face, holding the leads, in front of me. And I say, Mrs. Smith, my name is Anthony Riley. I'm your state field underwriter on our new state of Kentucky, the state regulated life insurance program for people on a fixed income. Now, you remember sending this card in, don't you? And she'll see it. And as she's looking at it, I say, well, I physically have to see you. And I can see you're not bedridden. And she'll laugh. And I can see that you're not terminally ill, I hope, right? No. Well, I have a few other health questions to ask you just to see if you qualify for this new state regulated program to enroll in it. Do you have 5 minutes and do your salesman shuffle, and it'll get you right in the door.
Beautiful. That, you know what? It's so simple, so easy.
It's keep it simple, stupid.
It is, but
Kiss.
you know what? The thing about it is, Tony, is that so many agents they'll listen to what you're saying. They're like, oh, that sounds, they'll try to complicate it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? They'll try to
No,
add extra stuff in that
it's
doesn't
pretty
need to be
simple.
in
You
there.
just want to give them enough information to sound important enough to get in the door. You're under no obligation today. I don't want any money from you today. And you don't have to have any money because you can put it on draft, at a future date, the
Yeah.
initial premium. So you're not lying to them. And that is, you're not really, I don't like to say insurance when I'm at the front door either. I'll usually say for the new, state regulated program for people
Yeah.
on fixed income. I don't really like to say insurance at all until I get in the house and then I do my presentation. And by that time you've had them filled out enough that I know within 5 minutes, if I'm going to have a sale. So you just want to keep it simple enough to get in the door. That's all you got to do.
Exactly. Yep. Yep. Hey, Mike, what do you think about that door knock script?
I tell you, Joe, it goes back to what you said from the beginning. You learn something at every meeting. Joe, I learn something at every call, and I'm here to tell you, he's sort of changed the way I think I'm on a door knock now. That was extremely impressive right there. And again, I think as you always said, Joe, less is more at the door. And and the way you did that right there, that was so crucial. So I've written that down. I'm gonna listen to the recording, and I was very impressed with it. I can definitely see how that would get you in the door.
Mm-hmm.
All right, guys, we're gonna move on to tip number 3, and I hope you guys are taking notes. But no fear, this is going to be recorded, and we'll get it up on the website and the YouTube channel as well. So probably in about a week or so, it'll be up. Let's see here. Oh, I did have here's another script that we have on the website. I really like what Tony says. This is the door knock script that I've used. If I'm going up to the door, I do the exact same thing Tony's doing with the ID badge. I like having a big stack of leads. I do all that exactly. And my script is basically, hi, Mr. Johnson. My name's Joe Smith, or John Smith. I'm the state licensed agent who oversees your area. And I'm here today because you recently sent this card in the mail. I'm showing the prospect the lead card. You've qualified for these benefits. I'm here to ensure that we complete the enrollment process. May I come in? And then I'm doing the what Tony calls the salesman shuffle, where you're scraping your feet on the mat or the concrete or whatever's there. So that's the script that I use. Now we're going to transition into tip number 3, which I really want to talk about, how agents should be dressed when they're going out into the field. And I know it really varies probably from region to region, and it depends upon the area maybe that you're door knocking. But here's what I can tell you is that, in my opinion, if you're newer, and there's always exceptions. I mean, we're not talking about the Tony Riley of the world who sells just about everybody he talks to, and I don't care if the lead is 6 or 7 years old, he gets in the door and he sells them. Okay, so he's at a completely higher level than most of us. I'm talking about the brand new agent out there. My recommendation is go what I would consider kind of like business casual. Okay, we don't want to come up in a suit. We don't want to come in with a tie or anything like that. But if you're new, I probably wouldn't recommend wearing jeans with tattered holes in them and some raggedy shoes. You want to look presentable. You want to look sharp. If you're going to do a polo, wear a polo. Maybe get a logo on there, one of the carriers, or get the Senior Solutions logo on there, or wear some type of like a dress shirt, maybe summertime. Roll up the sleeves. Make sure your shoes are in good shape. Don't wear tennis shoes. People sometimes when people are sizing you up, I don't know if you ever noticed this. Maybe it's just me, but when someone comes to my house, or if I'm getting solicited and I'm looking at them, for whatever reason, I always look down and see what kind of shoes they're wearing. I think whatever kind of shoes a man or a woman is wearing says a little bit about their character. So
I don't wear shoes.
You wear cowboy boots, right?
I wear boots, yeah.
Those, but they look. I bet you they're not all dusty and torn up,
No,
are they?
no, they're always shined up, and I've got 17 pairs of boots. I wear my Stetson. I wear a short sleeve button up,
Yeah.
half the week with a tie, but I wear really nice, jeans, and
Yeah.
my snake belt. But that's Kentucky, I'm dressing for the region, for the area. If I were to walk up to a door in a 3-piece suit, I guarantee you they'd slam the door in my face in Kentucky.
Right.
Yeah.
So you do have to somewhat conform to the area that you're door knocking in. I guess my point is it's better to be slightly overdressed. It's better to go business casual than to show up in jeans and sneakers, and maybe they're not going to take you that serious. But just keep in mind too is that we're not talking about wearing a 3-piece suit either. Michael, anything you want to add as far as dress goes?
I like what Tony said. The last thing that we want to look like, ladies and gentlemen, is a salesperson, because as we all know, everybody loves to buy, but everybody hates to be sold. So I grew up in South Carolina, Tony, so I know where you're coming from. You're wearing a 3-piece suit. You're the insurance man, the bill collector, or the police, and most likely 99% of people are not opening the door for any one of those three. So definitely want to go where he's going from, but look presentable. And to be overdressed like Joe, I think you hit the nail right on the head.
All right, guys. Anything else you want to add? We don't need to spend a lot of time on topic 3, but if there's anything else you want to add, go ahead, Tony.
I wore a 3-piece suit when I was a financial planner selling annuities, and this is far away from that. These are seniors that just want enough insurance for their final expenses, and they're just simple people, that are on a fixed income, and you want to be somewhat on their level. You don't want to overdress. You just want to get in the door, be casual but be clean, and look like you're there. That you want to look like you care about them, and not about yourself as much too. So yeah, let's move forward.
All right, man. Well, this is the last and final tip number 4. And what we're going to be talking about is, what do you do for the homes where there isn't anybody there? So Tony, if you want, we can start with you. If you have a door knock, you go there and no one's answering the door, what do you do from there?
Well, first thing I do is I call the number, and I listen at the door to hear if I hear their phone. If their phone's ringing in there, I know they're home. So I will keep knocking for a little bit, not too long, and then I always put a delivery sticker on the door. Um, and then I will go back to that lead at a completely different time, either 4 hours earlier or 4 hours later. 2 days, 2 to 3 days later. I don't want to keep bothering them that much because you want to look busy and you want to look like, you don't have that much time to keep going back at them. Now, after the second time, I put that lead in a call file and I will call it usually early in the morning or later in the evening around 7, and I'll set an appointment. You just don't want to waste a lead. Leads cost at least a couple $100 per lead, and you know you want to make sure that you do contact someone at that home. For instance, last week I had a lady who I kept going to the door, and I went to this one 3 times, and I'd already left 2 stickers on the door. Well, I went on White Pages, which I've got the app on my phone, because no one was answering the phone number she put on the lead. And on White Pages, I actually got it lists all the family members on there and their phone numbers. So I called the daughter, and she had actually moved out of the house and rented that house out and lived with her daughter on the other side of Lexington, Kentucky. And so I called her daughter. She was there. I set an appointment for the next morning. I went and I sold it. So, that's one case there where if I had just, given up on that one, that would have been one lead wasted.
Dude, that might be the tip of the week right there, man. Is if you get when you have the lead, try to get other numbers. Use
Right.
the white. That's brilliant. Anything else that you do with when they're not home? Do you still do the Cloverleaf?
Oh, I always do Cloverleaf. Yeah.
Can you
Especially
talk
if it
about that a little
sells.
bit?
Yeah. Well, Cloverleaf is you always hit the 2 people across the street and the ones on either side, on both sides of the house. And because if you notice, all neighbors are nosy about what their neighbor is doing, you know. So if they see you look important or they think you're a Texas Ranger or something, I don't know why, but they always say, I thought you were a Texas Ranger or something going to the door. Well, they're always looking out, or they're on their front porch and they're wondering. I mean, if someone is nosy enough to want to know what you're doing, well, go talk to them. So I've always gotten at least one sale a week from Cloverleafing every lead that's not home, because a lot of times the neighbors know exactly what their next door neighbor's doing. They know if they've moved out. They know if they go to Florida for the winter time, they won't be back till February. So just because you have leads and you spent money on them, to run them, it doesn't mean that you can't get other sales, because if one neighbor's interested in something, the neighbors on both sides especially want that. Whatever they're buying, they want it. I know my neighbor got a new zero turn mower, and my wife wanted one immediately. So
Yeah.
so yeah, talk to the neighbors, do your 4 or 5 Cloverleaf houses around that lead. And here's the good thing about that is, if you do sell the next door neighbor, when you do get a hold of that lady, does come home and the neighbor says she'll be back from Florida next Friday, the first thing you do when you go to that house, you show them the card and you say, your neighbor next door, I spoke with him and he enrolled in our program. Well, I mean, it takes down their defenses so much. It makes it so much easier to get a sale when the neighbor next door buys from you.
I totally agree. Out of curiosity, when you do Cloverleaf, are you catching people that are kind of like out in the yard, or are you actually
Yeah.
knocking on the door?
Yeah, in the summer you always do. They're usually setting
Yeah.
out, I don't know what it is, but elderly people love to sit in 100-degree heat. I'll be sweat dripping off my nose and out from under my cowboy hat everywhere. But they're sitting there, they're always sitting outside, and they're nosy. Seniors are nosy. They want to know what everybody's doing in their neighborhood.
What do you say
So,
to them when you walk over?
I usually, as I'm walking over, say, "How you doing, ma'am? Do you know Mrs. Smith here? She had mailed one of these cards in for our new state regulated program in the state of Kentucky. I'm sure you probably got one of these in the mail, didn't you? Let me see
Mm-hmm.
it." Oh, yeah. And they'll start fanning through it, and they'll see the neighbor down. They've lived there probably 30, 40, 50 years, a lot of them.
Yeah, yeah.
So they know everybody, and they're fanning through them. They say, "Well, what is this? I get these cards all the time." So, you just go up and talk to them as yourself. Don't look like you're some salesman. Just look like you're a good old country boy, or wanting to talk. you know
Fantastic. Mike, anything that you'd like to add about door? When we're covering a lot about people who aren't home,
right.
but I've got just a few things I'd like to add. I just want to see if Mike had anything, and then we'll
My
go ahead and wrap
friend,
up the call.
I can say it no better. I think I'm going to the CEOs of YG, and we're moving our national training center to Lexington, Kentucky. Tony, you hit the pure essence of this business and why it is a simple business, but not an easy business. So I just want to commend you, Tony. I'm in total agreement with whatever you said. Most of us fail in this business because we overthink it.
Right.
So I want to take my hat off. Very impressive. I hope everybody's taking notes, and please, everybody, go back to the recording.
And you want to have fun.
Yes.
You want to have fun. That's a big thing too. I have fun at my job. I joke with my prospects or potential customers, because if you act too serious, it scares them off. So you just want to have fun with them, and you want to just get to know them. First, make friends with them. And if you make friends with them on the front porch, 9 times out of 10, they're going to say, "Well, you look pretty hot. Let's go inside." And you'll get in the door if you're just keep it simple, be nice, have fun, and make friends. That's what I do.
Yeah, absolutely, dude. Let me just add a few things, and then I think we'll wrap up. If that's okay. I think we've covered about everything that we want to cover.
What's the tip number 5?
No, it's only tip number 4.
Okay, well, I got a tip number 5.
All right, let me finish up tip number 4, and then you go for number 5 and close us out.
All right.
So just a couple other things, guys, that I do when someone is not home. Tony gave us some great information. I do the same thing. I will call the prospect and listen for the phone. The other thing that I just as a good tip is that if you're knocking on the front door, a lot of times in some houses, the kitchen is in the back of the house. And if you're knocking on the front door, maybe the doorbell doesn't ring, maybe they just can't hear you. And especially if you've got one of those houses with a side load driveway where the driveway goes back and they've got a detached garage, is go ahead and walk on back the driveway. And if there's a side door, go ahead and knock on the side door. That's usually where the kitchen is. And there's been a lot of times I've gone back and they were there. The other thing that I will do is I will go back and look in the backyard. Maybe they're back there gardening. Now, I will give you some caution here. Beware of dogs. Okay. So if I'm walking in someone's house and there's like a chain link fence there, I will usually like clap my hands or whistle or rattle the cage or make some noise, because if there's a dog, I want the dog to come out and I want to see what kind of dog it is. Or if I'm going to go in their backyard and there's a fence there, I'm going to make sure I'm not walking into a situation where there's a dog there. But there have been plenty of times where I've caught people out back pulling weeds or doing some gardening or different things like that. So just don't knock on the front door. And then also with those delivery tags, I usually leave one. If there's 2 doors, I'll leave one on the front door. I'll leave one on the side door or the back door as well. And then one other tip is what I will do is when I'm doing my door knocking, after I run, if I have however many houses let's say I got 15 or 20, I'm gonna try to hit in one day. Okay, I will always circle back at the end of the day, kind of retrace my route and circle back and go to all the houses that were not home, and I look to see if the door tags have been taken off or not. If the door tags are taken off, I know that they're probably home. I'll hit that door. I'll hit that door again, and then that's all I've got for that. And then Tony's going to give us tip number 5, and then we're going to close out the call.
Well, it's not really tip number 5, but it is something
Okay.
I believe that everyone out there that's listening should do.
Okay.
Because in the last month, I've had 8 seniors that don't have checking accounts. All they have is the direct express cards. And
Okay.
I personally don't like to use the direct express cards because of the I like getting paid commission. So what I've been doing is I've been referring people to PayPal debit card. And by doing that, there's a link they send you that if you push on that link, you put in their information, which it only asks for their name, first and last name, and their address, and then you let them pick the color card they want.
Mm-hmm.
And their card will be in the mail in 7 to 10 days. So you do leave off that it gives you a requirement that you have to process later, but all the PayPal debit cards have the same routing number, and I know that because I have a PayPal debit card. I've had one for 15 years. The good thing about it is when their card comes in and they put the first $40 on that card, a lot of my clients have been actually having their whole their government check go on the card also. But the first $40 they put on that card, the PayPal gives them a $20 credit bonus to their account, and it gives me a $20 bonus to my account. So
Interesting.
every time, so I literally have about 28 customers now that have a PayPal debit card. And if you take 28 and you times that by 20, you can see what my bonus has been in the last 2 months doing it.
Uh-huh. So what the PayPal debit card, so the difference is, I guess, is that there's actually, it's like a check, there's an account number and a routing number?
Yes, there is an account. And when they get their PayPal debit card in the mail, you know how they stick it to that piece of paper, right under it, it says your account number is this and your routing number is this.
And who's the bank that does it?
It's Bancorp Bank owns them.
Oh, Bancorp. Okay. And then Transamerica takes Bancorp. So
yes,
instead of getting paid as earned, like on the direct express,
you get advanced commission.
You get an advanced commission.
And
oh,
you get
huge,
and the good thing that I do, like the last one I did the other day, their premium was actually $35.47. I said, so once you get your $20 bonus on your card, you put that $40 in there, they're going to give you a $20 bonus within 24 to 48 hours. You'll see $20 bonus go to your card, and I'll see a $20 bonus go to my card for referring you. So that means your first premium, ma'am, is really only going to cost you $15.47.
Brilliant. That's a great tip, Tony. Thank you.
All right. That's
all right, guys. We're going to wrap it up. I want to thank everybody for being on the call. Again, I hope everybody 4th of July, and we will talk to you soon. Michael, thank you so much for being on the call. Again, Tony, thanks for all you do. Thanks for being a good friend. Thanks for being a contributor today. I appreciate it, man.
Thanks, Michael.
Thank you, Tony. Nice meeting you. Thank you, Joe, for this opportunity again. Everybody have a great weekend.
All right, man. Take care. Bye-bye.